Okay, boys and girls, for our next project, we're going to be thinking about creating a robot drawing. So not just a regular robot, but we're going to be thinking about how we can use shapes, but turn them into what we call forms. So in these pictures right here, these students have drawn their robots, but they've added a couple things to make these robots look very real, like I could almost pick them up and hold them. And that would be the shadows and the highlights, the dark areas and the light areas that they're adding to each of these big shapes. It makes their robot look like it is real, like it has a real shadow, and the light is really hitting this shape. So we're going to practice creating some shadows and highlights and using some shapes and turning them into forms. So before we actually think about drawing our robots, we're going to do some practice today. Now the first thing you need at your table is this worksheet here. This says forms, shadows, and highlights. So each of these shapes here is a form because they look realistic. They have dark areas of shadows and they have white or light areas of highlights. So I can imagine that if I was looking at this cube right here and the light was shining on it, it would be making a shadow and it would be making a very bright spot on each of these sides of the cube. So each of these shapes has form, like I could almost pick them up and hold them because they have shadows and highlights. We kind of practiced this when we did our outer space drawings. Each of these circles turned into a form because we added a shadow and a highlight, a bright spot. Dark chalk and light chalk to make these circles look very real. So we're going to practice this first today. You're going to have this worksheet at your table and a big gray sheet of paper like this right here. So I'm going to start by putting my name on the gray sheet of paper, and this is just going to be a practice. This is where I'm going to draw a whole bunch of forms with my chalk and add some shadows and highlights. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your marker or your pencil and start to draw some of these forms. So you can draw all of them or just start with a couple. So I think I'll start with one that I know, and you should know this too. This is a cylinder. So I'm going to look at the red spots, the red lines, and try and copy the red lines with my marker or my pencil. So I can draw as big or as little as I like. I like to draw big because I'm going to add some chalk to this. So we know that a cylinder has an oval, two straight lines, and a curved bottom. So I'm going to start with that. Next, I'm going to take my black chalk and my white chalk, and I'm going to add a dark area and a light area. So in this picture right here, I can see that the gray spot, imagine that's the gray of my paper, but I do need to add the black and the white areas. So I'll look at the black area first. It looks like it's just on the side here. So I'm just going to take my chalk and try and copy what I see in the picture. So I see just on the right side here, there's a little bit of black. I can blend it out with my finger and make it nice and smooth here. And get rid of the rest of my chalk by tapping my paper. Now I'll look at the white area. It looks like it's only on this side right here. I can blend it with my finger a little bit, and it looks like it's on the top. And I can blend it with my finger a little bit. Okay, so that form looks like it's done. If I have some chalk that kind of went outside of my lines, I can erase a little bit and kind of clean up the sides here. And that is a perfect form. Okay, so my cylinder is done. It looks very real. Now I'm going to try a couple more forms. Let's see, I think I'll try the cube. The cube is kind of tricky. It starts as a square. Straight line, straight line, straight line at a diagonal, and then straight line down, straight line over. So now when I look at the cube, I can see that one whole side is gray, so I'll leave it gray. And one side is black, so I'm going to shade this in black. Now this is going to be very tricky to blend out without going outside of my cube, so I'm just going to let it go outside my cube a little bit and then just clean it up with my eraser. Now I know the top is white, so I'll just color this in white. Okay, and I can clean up the sides a little bit with my eraser. All right, now I'm going to keep going until I've tried a whole bunch of forms that really fill my paper. This is practice today before we make our robots. So how about this tube-looking shape right here? Let's try that one. Looks kind of like, if I wanted to make the arms of a robot, it would be kind of like this tube shape. So it starts as a circle, kind of is looking like a cylinder a little bit, except two sides with circles now. Now it looks like it's gray in the middle and then white on the top. So I'm just going to take my chalk and go all the way around that curve with the white and blend it out with my finger. And it looks like the circles are white, bright spots, highlights. And there's a little shadow on the bottom, so I'll take my black chalk and go on the bottom and make a shadow and blend it with my finger. All right, that looks great, and I can clean it up with my eraser if it got a little messy on the sides here. I could even take my marker or my pencil and I can add some lines like this, some details. This kind of looks like the tube arm of a robot. So I can even add some details too. Maybe I could even try this. Add some details that are starting to look like robots. Okay, so I'm going to keep going until I've tried a lot of these forms. This is our practice today, and then next week we'll start to work on our robots.